John.
Good morning.
How are you?
It's good, thank you.
You're like one of my heroes.
Thank you, Eileen.
You're very welcome. I gotta tell everybody how they first met that big brother of the balance method. At that time, I think maybe 20 years ago, maybe, I was still selling acupuncture needles. And John is taking one of the classes from Dr. Tan. I remember we were in Oakland. I was selling needles in the back. And then I saw this person is listening to Dr. Tan's class, but he's way back in the back of the classroom, right? And he was standing in the back doing his surfing, practicing. I was like, who is this guy? And he's truly trying to do surfing, practice balancing in dry surf in the back of the seminar room. I was like, who is this person, right? So I tried to talk to him, but you know, even though he's trying to do the surfing things, and he's still listening to the Tan. So after the seminar, so I went to talk to Dr. Tan, saying, hey, who's this guy? He's kind of like way out there. Is he a server or he is really a practitioner? And Dr. Tan says, that's John. I said, you know him? He said, oh, yes, he's been to many of my seminars. So yeah, I know him at least 5 or 6 years before I even know you. I said, oh, okay. So I believe you're one of the very, very beginning of the practitioner that follow Dr. Tan's around. That's how I get to know John. If you're a surfer, maybe you can invite John to your place to serve around. So then you might pick on his brain during the time when you invite him. So that's how I know John.
Thanks, Eileen. That's a very casual introduction. I'm glad. At that time, I was very dedicated to surfing. And if you're a dedicated surfer, there's nothing more torturous than to sit in a classroom all day, right? It's terrible. So in any case, yes, that's how you met me. And you asked me, how did I meet Dr. Tan originally also?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that we're going to talk about. So Let me do this. Welcome everyone to my Sunday morning interview with all the people who study with Dr. Tan for the balance method, acupuncture. And thank you so much for everyone to join me at the real time and on the live streaming. I appreciate all of you. So you guys will have the first-hand information from all the practitioners who learn from Dr. Tan and what their experience and why are they so interested to continue practice this specific balance method, not only learning from school or learning from the class, and they also will go to their own practice and continue doing their practice. What are you doing, John?
I'm seeing the level of resolution that I can get to show you my new pride and joy.
Big brother can do anything he wants, okay?
This is the real Lingzhi mushroom.
Oh, wow.
Got fresh from the forest last week in the Sierras. It's very, very beautiful. I wanted to show you the grain on the bottom. It's very incredible.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Okay,
this
so
is the real thing given to me by the forest in the Sierras. Very lovely. Anyway, I just wanted to show to you.
You just want to interrupt me, no problem. So now I'm gonna explain to now I'm gonna introduce you who's John. Okay, give me just another 30 seconds. Thank you. So Dr. John Meany is a nationally licensed and recognized practitioner in Marin County, California, and an avid student of the world culture. From an early age, John was intrigued by the belief and sciences of indigenous culture, which draw him to the exploration of the international societies to discover how best to help his patients. His deep passion to help as many people as possible has led him to intensive study, apprenticeship, writing, and leading nonprofit seminars and workshops. And John graduated with honor and received his acupuncture license from the American College of Traditional Chinese Medicine since 1988. He's also finishing up another wonderful book, is his herbal medicine books based on Dr. Tan's balance method, which we are so looking forward to have him to teach us, lead us, guide us in the realm of herbal medicine based on Dr. Tan's balance method. And I will have John talk to us more about it. And so now let's starting our interview.
I'm ready for you.
Hey, John. So how did you find Dr. Tan?
So it was sometime somewhere in the mid 1990s that I first encountered Dr. Tan. And he actually sent out a flyer, or I think there was a place in Santa Cruz that was promoting different seminars and things at that time, and Dr. Tan was on there. And it's hard for the current acupuncturists to believe, but at that time there was almost no, it was actually difficult to get CEUs at that time because almost no one was giving CEUs. So there was very, very little that was offered by the way of CEUs. Anyway, it looked interesting. And I remember that someone who had actually gone to school, acupuncture school in the United States with Dr. Tan, had told me about him at one point. And they said that it was, he was a student, but all of the patients at the school clinic wanted to go and see him because he was the only one who could help anybody. And so all the students there were really curious about what that was and why that was. And so he had a bunch of crazy experiences with Dr. Tan, and he could never explain what it was that Dr. Tan was doing that was helping all the patients. So I was always curious about Dr. Tan from that time. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so
what is so fascinating about Dr. Tan's method that continue have you go back to follow him for all classes?
Yeah.
Year after years.
When I first arrived to go to Dr. Tan's class, then I walked in like so many acupuncturists do. I was very arrogant. I thought I knew everything, and I was just showing up to get the CEUs. I just planned on taking a nap all day, honestly. And then when I walked in, then the assistant said, "Hey, you didn't bring a paper or pencil or anything." I said, "I don't need that."
I remember.
And then Dr. Tan, as soon as he opened his mouth, within about 2 minutes, I went, oh my God. I realized that he really, really knew what he was talking about, and he was giving us information that was very, very important for the foundations of our practice. And so immediately I grabbed a pen and a paper from the assistant, and I started writing, and I didn't stop writing. And I really got what Dr. Tan was talking about. And so I went into it very deeply with him. And remember, this is when he was just beginning to develop his classes also. So it was just a brief introduction to his method and what he was doing. So over the years, I got to have many discussions with Dr. Tan about the directions he was going and how he wanted to differentiate what he was doing into different branches. I learned a lot about the origins of what he was doing, where they came from, and like that. So I was very, very impressed with the classical roots of what Dr. Tan was doing, and also the family lineage of what he was doing, which is something that he didn't talk about very much. But it was very, very important in what he did because it inspired him from a very young time to wonder what the Chinese medicine was about and to try to understand it. So that's what he did. And so he began to pass that on. And as soon as I was exposed to what he was doing, I began working with it clinically because my original training in Chinese medicine was primarily with herbs. I got to study with a really wonderful herb master, and that was my original orientation. to Chinese medicine was through the herbology. And so I was never really satisfied with the level of the acupuncture that I learned in school. So as soon as I saw what Dr. Tan was doing and he explained it, I went, wow. So I went right back to my clinic on Monday and I started practicing balanced method, and I have not given a single non-balanced treatment for the 33 years since that time. So yeah, I took it on in a big way.
Yes. Thank you for hearing that, because most people were still mixing something here and something there, and they try to learn everything, and then they will not have a real logical thinking. So sometimes they fail, sometimes they succeed, so sometimes they have to pray, like Dr. Tang always say, like this. And yes, so I totally agree with you that if once you're learning this, you gotta go really deep to the core, then you'll have the base. Then it will be so easy to be able to have the logical thinking. Thank you for this insight.
Yes.
And also I like to share with everybody, John is also will give you something, just throw you something and let you think. And then you will feel like suddenly your eyes, like suddenly ding, 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 everything started making sense. So that's the reason why I usually like to visit John and then take a couple of hours of his at the Marin County. So I have to fly all the way from San Diego to Marin County, which is Northern California, and to bug him for a couple hours, and he will give me something. So if you took my class before, so you know why UB are so long. How long, right? Very, very long. Who taught me that? John did it. So every time I was teaching that class, I want to share that with you. That's what is making sense to all of us, why UB are so long, why UB are involving with back pain. If you didn't hear the story, you gotta take my class. Great, so sorry. Okay, now, John, please tell us something about your new book, the book that you finished about the herbal book. And please tell us about the name of your book and the classes that you're planning to teach. So we will be able to introduce to everybody, to learn from you, to study from you, and get more information that we possibly can get from Dr. Tan's information and with your combinations.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Eileen. One of the reasons, actually the only reason why I really have not been teaching for the past 10 years is because I decided that I needed to focus on bringing forward the Chinese herbalism and what I know about the Chinese herbalism, and bringing it forward in a system for Chinese herbology that is going to be, I believe, it's going to do for Chinese herbs what the balance system did for acupuncture in the world. Because I was able to take my original herbal training, and which was very profound. I studied with Sifu Yakilai for many years, and he was a real herbal genius. No way to express what a genius he was with the herbology, and yet there were many mysteries in what he taught me also, and that was part of how he taught me, was to give me mysteries to work on in a very, very deep way. And one thing that he taught me that was very, very important was how to apply the acupuncture principles and the acupuncture physiology to our practice of herbology. And that was a big reason why he was such a master herbalist. Because the herbalists tend to, over the last couple of generations, I think they lost touch with the root of where our medicine came from. And that's why often you hear that argument that they say, oh, well, the herbalists, they just think in terms of Zhang Fu theory and like that. I think it's true. They lost the root of the theoretical foundations and actually the physiology that we use in Chinese medicine. But Chinese medicine is one thing. It's not two separate things. So I've reapplied what we know about the acupuncture physiology, and particularly what we know using the balance method and all of the different systems that we use, applying it into the field of the herbs. So this is what I've taken all these 10 years to do, is to get all of this really, really, really good. I'm writing everything out. So next year we'll begin teaching it. And I really want to bring all of this out to the balance community first, because the balance community people are the ones who are really going to be able to understand it and take it and really go. And we'll take our medicine to a completely new level. It's very, very important, significant
Great.
time to do this.
Great.
Yeah.
So will you go back to the basic to give us the 1, 2, 3 also, like the acupuncture for the herbal thing that you're talking about? Are we going to start from the basic if some people are not strong at the herbal base?
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So only do acupuncture. Would they
That's
be able
actually,
to join us for this?
yes, that's actually better. The weaker the herbal base, the better, because a lot of times the people, just like I was when I walked into Dr. Tan's class first, right? So arrogant, I thought I knew everything. This can be a problem when we're really trying to learn the herbs in a good way. So we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to have foundations classes, and we'll build up with that strong foundation. Then people will be able to understand the complexity and how to use the complexity. Because if we don't do that, if we don't take some steps back to really get that foundation, those roots very, very deep, the tree is going to fall over. So okay. That's how we're going to do it, for sure.
Now I feel better, so I'll be able to learn it.
Anyone can learn it. We just need to go in there in a very good way and a very systematic way.
Wonderful.
And
yes,
interestingly, one thing when I talk with the people about the herbs is very interesting, because what happens is when they begin studying the herbs with me, because of the way I approach it, they wind up becoming much better acupuncturists, because we go and we use the acupuncture physiology in such a deep way. So I know that it will revitalize what we're doing at the balance system as well, when we look at it in a slightly different light.
Got it. Great. So now we have very little time to talk about case studies. So I'm going to changing to a gear a little bit. So tell us, what will be your most memorable or most fun experience for a treatment, so we can share with everybody?
You know, I actually had a couple of different case studies that I wanted to share with you, but I think I will just share this simple one now because we don't have too much time. And I wanted to share it for a couple of different reasons. And I'll just go into it. So the case study one, he's a middle-aged Neigong practitioner. And he's a very high-level Neigong practitioner. He's very good at it, and he's done it for a long time. But he blew out his nervous and his endocrine system doing Neigong. And this is something that I think is important for all of us to understand, that we think, oh, we do the Qigong, we do the Neigong, we do those things, and it's very positive and very good. In general, it is good for us to do those things. But when you go to the high levels, you start playing with a lot of power, and it really actually affects our physiology in profound ways. So we have to be very, very meticulous how we do the practice. So anyway, this man got to be very, very powerful, and he could do all kinds of interesting things with his qi, but he didn't heed the prohibitions against eating the grains. And so among other things, he developed diabetes, and he got a massive weight gain. He gained maybe 300-400 pounds. Huge, huge, because his whole endocrine system went off. So a lot of the Neigong practitioners, the Qigong practitioners from around the country, around the world, they come to see me when they get in trouble, because I myself have done for a long time. And so I have a reputation in that community that I know what I'm talking about with that, so they come to see me. So he got to come in, we began to work with him, and he started getting better right away. One of the things, right, he started getting back on track right away, but one of the things that started happening was he started losing a lot of weight very rapidly, which is good because he was literally hundreds of pounds overweight from his natural weight. So, and this is why I want to begin talking about this case study, is because he began losing so much weight that it changed the structure of how he was holding his body. So we wound up developing a very simple kind of a problem, which was he got the low back pain. Why? Because he was losing so much weight that his skeleton was trying to shift. And so his sacrum, his hips, everything were trying to adjust to the changes in his body. So he wound up with low back pain, with a right-sided sciatica pain, because of the changes in his posture and his weight distribution. So everybody who's watching knows how to treat that, and I think they could do it very well. So there's nothing magic about that. But what was interesting was that when I diagnosed him, I saw what was going on. There was involvement, both the Xiaoyang and the Taiyang, right? And even a little bit of Fu Jue Yin involvement on the right side there. So what did I do? I gave him a treatment that probably all of you would have given. Okay, so on the right side, I did the heart six. So we did Xiaoyin over here. And then left side, the Lingu Dabai, but also I slanted it more to Xiaoyang and more to Taiyang because of the presenting symptoms and also according to the diagnosis, right?
Yes.
So then down on his feet on the right side, the gallbladder 43 in that area, plus the spleen 4. So that way, what were we doing? We're addressing both the endocrine disorders, right? Working with the Chong to help get him back to the center line that his body was looking for, right? And then also to take care of the low back pain. So this man, he's very, very critical of all the practitioners, you know. But when he got off the table, he declared it was a miracle. He looked at this guy, he declared it was a miracle because the pain was completely gone. So, completely gone. But after 2 weeks, remember what I said? I saw there was a little bit of Fu Jue Yin involvement also, which is kind of covered in the Chong, but I didn't get it on the same side as his pain because I was sticking with that basic balance model. So, miracle occurred, but after 2 weeks, a little bit of pain began to creep back into deep into the hip joint. So I knew we had to take care of that Jue Yin. So he came back in, and so I flipped the treatment. I flipped the treatment around based on what was going on. So in some ways, it was a similar treatment principle, but we flipped to the opposite treatment strategy. And this is why, another reason why I want to talk about this is I think very important. So basically what I did was on that right side, this time I did the liver 4, and then the opposite on the left side, I did the P7 this time. So we're really sticking with the Jue Yin. And then the Xiaoyang on the other side. So I did the, well, actually we stuck more with the liver. So I did the small intestine 5.5, and then the gallbladder 40. So basically, what are we doing? We're treating the hips through the wrists and the ankles, right? Like that. So we did the reflected image in that way. His hip pain totally improved, never came back, right? Plus also, we got to work more deeply into the endocrine system like we were wanting, right? And the reason why I like this example is because I think it's important for us as balance practitioners to understand that we have a balance system that's in our own nervous system in our body. It is the integrative system between our brain, our nervous system, and all of our physiology. But what happens is that there are layers of balance, compensations that occur for pain, but also that create pain. So you might treat a balance system that works on one side in one way during one treatment, but it's actually hiding the opposite treatment just underneath it. And we have actually, in fact, many layers of these different kinds of compensations that go on in our bodies. And depending on the kind of healing that a person wants to do, they are going to either want to go deeply through those layers or not. And I know there's a lot of emphasis that we put on instant healing and the instant results. It's good to have the instant results, and I think it's important. That's an important part of our feedback. And if a person really is going to heal what's going on with them, if we're going to do something that is going to go beyond treating just mere pain syndromes, and I think it's time for us as balance practitioners to really begin treating serious disease. We have the ability to do that. We want to do that. Pain is just a symptom. So we want to be able to begin to go deeper and deeper and look, okay, what is this balance pattern hiding? So we treat the balance pattern that we see always, but we always have to look, okay, what's the next balance pattern that's evolving and emerging as a result of treating this one? Very frequently, it's the opposite. So that's the little gift that I want to give to the people who are watching today, is to watch for that opposite balancing pattern, because when you get both of them, then the person really goes to a whole different level, and you do too, and the level of the healing, the respect, and the foundation of the long-term relationship is really, really good. Make sense?
Yes. Do you know that I do know this, the phenomenon you described, but I cannot put it in the way that you describe it so beautifully, because I that's how I do it. I will do this one side one time, and then the next time come back and the other side have a problems.
Yeah.
So, which that is totally understanding, but I can't describe the phenomenon.
Yes.
Like you describe it right now. So this is totally mind-opening. Did you see the light bulbs right there? Ding, ding,
Yes,
ding, ding.
I love it. I love it.
I have to take notes. Anytime you talk, I take notes. It's amazing.
It's the layers of the balance patterns. And this is beginning, we want to carve through those layers over time. And that takes the person into deeper and deeper levels of healing toward their original self. And that's always what we're looking, is to liberate that original self from all these different layers of compensation that we go through. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That totally clicks right here.
Very good.
Thank you for your precious time that we have you for 30 minutes. I don't know, are you be interested to even come on to another interview maybe a month later? So I know it's your very precious time for you, your family, and your children. And so if that is okay, so maybe I can schedule another time, and then I'm sure everybody else would love to hear you again. And so
Anytime.
Our time is up.
Anytime, Eileen.
Oh, thank you so much for having you here with us.
Thank you.
If anyone have any questions, if anybody have any question for John and wants to know more about his classes, and we will try to find a time is the European friendly time, so everybody can take the class at once for the herbal class. Hopefully we can schedule it in a series of time, so then we can have John all by ourselves, so we can have him pick on his brain. Is okay with everybody? Please type it on Facebook or email me so we can have John again and again. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And thank you, John, for your time.
Thank you, Eileen Shermo. Always good to see you.
Thank you, thank you. So talk to you soon. Thank you, John. Love you, everybody.
Okay, 再见.
Bye-bye.